Hello folks, this is Rajiv again. Today I want to talk about a very interesting concept, that is the role of information within groups and organization. I don't want to get into the details or elaborate on the topic, but I'll just sort of summarize a brief. I feel that I've been doing some investigation into this, and I find this to be a very fascinating concept, and hopefully I can sort of work with someone to sort of refine this, fine tune, and expand on this topic. But I want to sort of give uh, a brief into what I feel is the role and the the impact of the information that's that's available within groups and organization. And interestingly, I also sort of found out that in 2000, while I was investigating, that the 2001 Nobel Prize for Economics was actually because of research by three scientists into the role of asymmetric information in the market economy. But keeping aside that, I want to sort of talk about my own investigation, but as I said, in a summary or a brief manner. And I promise sort of sometime afterwards I'd like to sort of get back and expand on some of the details. But for now, let me keep it brief. So for me, I broke up the information as having four elements. Okay, and so I'd call that the I'll actually go in steps. The first one is the availability or the source of information. So what so where is the information being generated, and what is the quality of information, if I may say. So that is the first stage of the information. The second stage of the information is how does information flow. Okay, what are the aspects, or what are the ingredients that allows information to flow. Within that, you could talk about how is the information getting processed. What is the interpretation of the information, and what is the biasing of the information. So when I say biasing, it could be, there are many elements to it, and it's definitely very complicated, but there should be a way to sort of quantify and benchmark this, I hope. For example, an analogy would be that you could be looking at the mirror from different angles. It could be the same picture, the information, but how you see it could be different, right? So that aspect, I would say, how is information being processed, and I think the biasing information. The same information mean different things for different people and at different roles within an organization, and that I would call the biasing information. The third aspect is the depth of information. Previously in the past, traditionally, the way organizations structures organized is usually there's an hierarchy, right? And the information is supposed to sort of get bigger, and the more strategic, the more bird's eye view of the flows, more general, and I think it gets as specific as you go down. But it's not necessarily that way. I think the the flow of information has changed very drastically in the modern day organization, and it is very critical. As we know, today we live in an information economy, and to sort of understand this is very critical, um, and especially for businesses, right? And so yeah, there's the depth of information, right? The third aspect is the depth of information. So it's not true that information is only selected information. There's that in the past there's a belief, or there's a notion that information gets broader and there is more available information as you get higher in the hierarchy, but it's not necessarily true. The different elements of information are different, different uh, within a given structure, different hierarchies and different roles have different available information, and in each stages there is, as I said, there's an element of quality of information as well. um, So the available information at the bottom of the structure of the hierarchy could be vastly impactful, very critical, than the available information top. There could be an available view of the information, but might not be relevant given the trend of a certain context. So there are all these sort of different elements. I would call it the depth of information. I think there has to be sort of better way to sort of describe this asymmetric nature of information across, or how it's, you could think of this as embedding of, it's like if you throw if you throw sand into a bread, okay, when the wind is flowing, how do you sort of think those little drops of sand would go and fill up different micro spots of the bread, or something equivalent to bread is something, as you can imagine, is not an easy thing to sort of quickly summarize. I think there are different elements to it. So this is what you think, but each of that having the but this is something that you won't throw away as such, because the impact that it has is terrible. So that comes to the sort of fourth point, which is the impact of the information. What decision got made from the information? What is happening because of the information? What has changed? What is the impact, and what is affected from the information? So that is the fourth aspect of the information. So I think some of it is sort of given, I think, and must have been put in some model, especially the first two aspects, the source, and I think the flow information and the nature in the asymmetric nature of the information, availability, where it's available, and what the quality of information and the depth of information is what is sort of morphed in the modern day economy and the modern day organizations and groups. And to understand this is very vital. I think it's very vital, and this is sort of the brief and summary today. Hopefully I would, let me get. Hopefully I can sort of expand this and make it more detailed and come up with something. But this is sort of the brief information about. For me, I think it's a very interesting and fascinating concept, and there's much to be investigated because of the impact that it's had, not just within groups and organizations. I think across as an economy and across as societies. I think information is the role and the impact that information is creating is terrible. You could think of revolutions get started, and things happen, things get destroyed, a lot of things happen because of because how information flows, and it's very it would be a very fascinating element to investigate and to find out, and especially as it affects the birth, the death, and the management of companies and organizations and societies. Thanks.